Monday, Jackie Broman here from TBA Law. Coming to you, we do our Monday Facebook Lives, short snippet of legal information every Monday morning at 10. And today, finally it feels like summer has arrived. So not long till Christmas now, and this is my second last video for the year. So today we're focusing on settlements out of court, and this is in a family law context. So for the last 3 weeks, I've done a video each week on a different aspect of family law, explaining the first video overall of the, I suppose, dispelling some of the myths where people get confused after separation. And then I looked at divorce, and then I also looked at the 4 steps in the financial settlement space for family law. And today, as I said, settlements out of court. So as a firm, we really prefer settlements out of court. There are a lot of lawyers in the industry who will prolong matters to increase legal fees and prefer matters to go to court. So we prefer parties to try and work things out between themselves and just come to us to settle the matter. Sometimes people come to us when they can't negotiate, and we negotiate for them to a degree, and then hopefully get to a settlement and do the settlement out of court as well. But if people come to us and they can't negotiate and we negotiate for them, and we generally say we cap our legal fees to $2,000, if they've spent $2,000 in negotiations and they haven't got to an agreement, that's generally when we tell people, well, look, you need to look at another option, and court's the other option, usually. So, as I said, we prefer settlements out of court. It's far less stressful for everyone, and it's less costly for the parties as well. To be honest, we don't want to be taking legal fees unnecessarily. And realistically, a lot of these matters are just prolonged because of emotion around the separation, and it's not really serving either party, to be honest. So, settlements out of court. Now with parenting, you have a couple more options open to you than you do with financial settlements. So financial settlements obviously are a little bit more complex, and you need certain things in writing to be able to, divide up real estate, for example. But from a parenting perspective, you can come to a parenting plan. You can do that through a family relationship centre and don't even have to see a solicitor. If your parenting plan works, fantastic. You might be the kind of couple that can continue on a parenting plan indefinitely, or sometimes have a review of it every couple of years just with a family relationship centre and never see a lawyer. So that is really ideal. However, if you come to a parenting plan agreement during your family relationship counselling, you can, if you're worried that it won't be adhered to, bring it to a solicitor and have it turned into something more official. So we can turn that into what's called consent orders. So the court will endorse the agreement. We submit it in the form of court orders to the court, but no one actually ever goes to court, and the court literally just approves them, and then you have enforceable court orders instead of just a parenting plan. So yes, your parenting plan is one of your first options and least costly. The other 2 kinds of settlements, and I've already touched on one of those, is consent orders and binding financial agreements. Okay, so those are the main kinds of settlements out of court that you can have. Now, a binding financial agreement doesn't include the children's things, so you probably wouldn't bother looking at a binding financial agreement if there was also children's matters. The binding financial agreement is purely out of court, but to have it binding, there are all sorts of requirements that need to be met. And over the last few years, there has been quite a few of them overturned and not considered binding, which makes the profession nervous about them, and we agree that they're a bit of a risk, so we tend to steer away from them, and we tend to apply the fee to them that equates the risk. So our preference is consent orders. So consent orders can include both children and property. It can include one or the other. You don't have to go to court, and you get a court-sealed court order. All right? So it can only be overturned by a court later, and only if there's been a serious change in circumstances. So it's much more secure for everyone, it's much more final for everyone, and it's easy. So those are settlements out of court where no one has to actually go to court. So if you have children and you've got to come up with a parenting arrangement, it is better that you go and see a family dispute resolution centre first and have your family counselling. And then once you have an agreement, or if you can't reach an agreement, come to us. We can help you negotiate, and then we can draw up the settlement, keep it all out of court. So those are the ways to go if you want to settle out of court. Now, there are plenty of people who separate on good terms and never actually do anything binding. I don't have too much of a problem with that, so long as they then do their separate estate planning as well. And if you're married, it's more important to get a divorce in that situation if you don't also have a binding or final property settlement. So there's no one way fits all with this. You can have a unique way of solving your separation and working out the parenting and the finances. So I hope that that's helpful. Every Monday morning at 10, I'm here to give a little bit more information. Next week is the last week, and it will be the final of this 5-part series on family law and separations. So if you think this is useful for anyone, please tag their name in it. Because it's a bit more of a private situation with separations, it might be better if you copy and paste the link into a private message for them. But all these videos are saved onto our page, so you can go back and see all the videos there. So otherwise, I hope everyone stays cool on this day in Victoria that's going to reach about 40 degrees. And I hope you have a great week too. I'll see you next week.